Welcome to Psychic Social, brought to you by psychic.co.uk.
On this episode of Psychic Social.
I don't believe that people get stuck here. I don't believe that people are held on earth. I think there's choice. I think they can stay here and watch over people or move into the spirit, the realm, if that makes sense.
Welcome to Psychic Social with me, Oliver Duke, the podcast that explores all things from the psychic and spiritual perspectives, including interviews with famous psychic practitioners, discussions about the afterlife, the paranormal, and much more. So relax and enjoy the show. Our guest today has been a practicing clairvoyant medium for nearly a decade. She has studied at the world-famous Arthur Findlay College in the UK, and through her journey so far has taught hundreds of students spiritual development and Reiki within her workshops, courses and development circles. She's amassed a lovely, dedicated following on Facebook and has also performed her mediumship on stage in the past to captivated audiences. The lady I'm talking about is the lovely Hannah Macintyre. Hannah, thank you so much for joining us today on Psychic Social.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really, really excited to be here.
It's great to have you on the show. Thank you for coming. What have you been up to today?
Well, today I did a Facebook Live earlier, but apart from that, I've been out wandering Kent with my dog, exploring all the autumn trees.
I see, yes. Yeah, well, all the leaves have really started to come down now, haven't they? We live next to a wood, and it's just literally, they're all falling into our garden. So it's just in the last week, they've really come down, haven't they? And some lovely colours, yeah, definitely. That sounds great. Now, we wanted to sort of move into our first question with you into the show. I mean, we've obviously had this lockdown over this year, sort of on and off, and the first lockdown period was obviously quite long, wasn't it? It was sort of 12 weeks, I think it was. Now, we were asking all the guests that have come on this year after that period, kind of what they did to sort of keep their positive vibrations raised during that time, and obviously during the time that we're going through now with our sort of second official national lockdown. And anything that people can do to kind of do the same to sort of raise their vibrations? Is there anything that you can recommend to them?
Oh, lockdown. Hasn't it been interesting this year?
Yeah.
The funny thing is, we were told, Spirit told me and some of my groups and my students that a big energy was coming, a big shift was coming. And I can remember in the final circle that I did before it all hit, saying they're showing it me like a giant tidal wave, and it's going to fall and it's going to change everybody's lives. But slightly naively didn't think about what it's actually like for myself when I go through a massive change in my energy. You know, all your rubbish comes up to be dealt with, all your fear, your insecurities, and you have to work through that. That's how I believe we rise our vibrations. And so I think that's what's happening to all of us on a global scale right now, is we're all trying to come to terms with this energy and rise through it as we shift into a new age. So for me, it was quite exciting, really. I mean, obviously, the fear, the worry, you know, people losing people that they love has been horrendous. But I do think it's part of a bigger plan. And so I am hopeful with it. I had big plans with lockdown that I was going to rest and I was going to meditate and I was going to focus on me. I signed up for loads of courses and thought I'd do them all. And then my following, as you mentioned, just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I've been so busy helping people, talking to people, doing lives, trying to keep the light shining, that I haven't even done one chapter on my course.
Right, okay.
So I think for anyone out there that wants to know how to raise their vibration, it's a very personal thing. And I can't give you a list. What I can say is there are things that really work for me personally, like being out in nature, meditating, being around loads of beautiful crystals. But I also have to be very mindful of what I allow into my energy. So I'm very good at avoiding things that I find upsetting or difficult because I don't want that energy in my energy. So I think for a lot of people out there, you have to give yourself permission sometimes to turn off the news if it's depressing you, to not watch the horrible TV show if it's full of negative people and low vibrations and difficulties, and be very conscious of what you're putting into your energy and who you're surrounding yourself with. So that for me is key.
Yeah, that's very important, isn't it? And obviously you touched upon walking in nature and stuff like that. And although it sounds sort of very simple and people sort of will just go, well, that's just going for a walk. But it's actually very important, isn't it? Not only for your physical health, but for your mental health as well. And, some sort of functional medicine doctors would potentially prescribe as part of their medication, quote unquote, would be a walk in the countryside or a woodland walk or a walk, in nature. To help you, feel better, and obviously good for your physical and mental health. But yeah, it's
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that I always like to say to people is if you're feeling stuck, you need to get yourself to a space where the energy is moving so that your energy can absorb that movement. So walking in the woods with the wind or walking by a river or a stream where there's some natural movement will help your energy to shift, to help to move the things that you want to move in your life. So it is very simple, but it's also completely life-changing, I think.
Totally, 100%. And also you mentioned about the news and switching off any choosing what kind of you receive into your mind as opposed to just having the TV on and just accepting that it's there to have it on and it's in the background, but you're still absorbing that stuff, the negativity of the news. And I switched the news off I stopped watching about 3 months ago, and it absolutely transformed how I felt, and it lessened obviously the initial anxieties of the first lockdown and the sort of breakout of coronavirus in this country, and I felt so much better. I did check the news on an app on my phone, probably once or twice a week, just a quick check of the headlines, but actually switching off the news and that constant sort of what felt like a barrage of negativity coming at me personally, to close that off, to have the power just to go, right, I don't have to watch that, I'm not going to watch that, was really good for me personally, and I'm sure it's probably worked for a few other people as well. But absolutely.
It seems so simple, and we're all fed this sort of belief that we have to watch it, we have to get involved, we have to worry about things. And I can remember a few years ago, I got really upset about the children in Syria, and I'd watched this documentary and it was horrendous, and I meditated on it and I spoke to my guides and I asked them what I could do, and they said very clearly to me, nothing. But I tell you what you could do, you could stop watching it and lowering your vibration and changing the work that you need to do here where you are, because all you're doing is buying into that fear, buying into that sadness, buying into that sorrow, when you're actually not able to do anything very much about it. You can donate to a charity, but aside from that, what are your options? So it's really important, I think, to switch off and give yourself permission to do that.
Yeah, and it is, and like you say, it is okay, because you that is something that you are in control of. We don't live in a newsroom, do we? We have you have the option to have it on or off, or watch something else or do something else. So but I've been sort of immersing myself in podcasts and books and wonderful podcasts like Psychic Social, and
Fantastic. Exactly what you need.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, great. Well, so we wanted you to just tell us about. We want to move on to the next question, if you can, and wanted you to take us back to the beginning. And how did you sort of become psychic, or how did you realise that you had this kind of ability? Was it passed down to you, or were you aware of it at a young age? How did it come to you?
Well, I think I'm a little bit different, because I'd love to tell you that I was communing with spirit from my childhood and I just knew. Now, I was always interested in mediumship and spiritual stuff, but I didn't have a calling that I thought that I would have recognised as a calling. Now, when I look back, I go, oh, yeah, now I see it. But at the time, I didn't. And so what happened to me was I was having a really tough time, feeling very disheartened with life and it just being so difficult and people being so negative. And I was in my early 20s and it just seemed like everything was harder than it needed to be. And one of my friends, a work colleague actually, gave me a message from my grandfather. And in that moment, I knew, because the message was so good and clear and precise, I knew that my grandfather could still see me. I knew that my grandfather was still watching. And that moment changed everything for me, because I then started to get more actively involved in a spiritual development circle that she went to. I went because I thought it was cool. I'd love to tell you, Oliver, that I went because I felt a deep spiritual calling within me, but I just thought, this will be interesting. Wow. Maybe I'll see some other people get messages. It didn't occur to me that it was part of a path. And when I look back now, I mean, there's things that my mum has told me, that I used to hear people calling my name when I was little, and I used to get premonitions about things and ideas about things, but they were so natural to me that it never occurred to me that they were part of a gift, if that makes sense. They were just something that was going on in the background. And I didn't really consciously engage with them until I joined a circle and then decided to try and flex that muscle for myself.
Very interesting. Yeah, that is very interesting. Yeah, I mean, I've had a sort of experience in my life where I just sort of always been very much of an empath, but kind of never really realised it until recent years, and never really realised how much I felt other people's feelings and energy without actually speaking to them. And I just thought that everyone could do that, you know.
Yes.
But it's interesting, as I've got into, you know, working on Psychic Social and psychic.co.uk, that I've realised that this is something that I've been able to do, and not it's not something that comes to everyone naturally. You know, be able to, you know, like someone will come to the front door, like the postman or whoever, and I can immediately just get, if they have especially if it's negative, I immediately feel like I'm hit with this negative blast of energy before they've even said anything. And then I just thought everyone felt like that, but obviously not. I've been told.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the thing. I think it's sometimes for some of us, it's just so natural, and you don't. It's just how it's always been.
Yeah.
So you don't. I mean, I can see now that I always was going to be a healer, because I collected. I mean, even when I was quite young, I had adults telling me their problems, people leaning on me for support, but I never stopped to think, why is this happening? What is this? It was just how my life was. So I just sort of floated around in it, you know?
Sure, great, yeah.
And, so it's just something that I've worked on and worked with spirit. And, you know, now when I look back, I go, oh, yeah. But at the time, didn't realise it at all.
Yeah, of course, sure. Well, we wanted to obviously ask you about, you know, some of your readings and stuff that you've done in the past. And I'm sure you've had quite a few of these over the years, being a medium, but is there a reading that you've done for someone in the past that kind of really stood out to you and kind of stuck in your memory?
There's been a couple. The funny thing is, they're all so amazing, and I have to say that I still now, spirits still wow me. They still amaze me with the things they come through with. I think for me, there's been two, maybe three really big ones that stuck out for me. So before I was officially a medium, I used to have a ready meal business, and I used to deliver meals around to elderly people in the local area. And I can remember going to this gentleman's house, and I'd been spiritually developing for about 4 years at this point. And he was ever so sad because his wife had passed. And she just came forward so strongly, so clearly. And it was this fighting within me because, you know, I was there under a non-spiritual guise. I was there as the lady that delivers the meals. And I had to ask him, I had to sort of explain and say, you know, I just want to let you know I've been working on my connection to the spirit world, and I need to let you know that your wife is here. And she was talking to me about I could see pink flowers and this shrub, and I'd only ever been in his kitchen, and I said I don't know what flowers they are, and as I did, she said they're peonies, and I said, oh, they're peonies, and he said, follow me, and he walked down his hallway with his stick ever so slowly into his living room that had these double doors, and on the other side of the double doors was this gigantic pink peony bush in bloom, and he said that was her favourite flower, and that was hers, that she planted there.
Oh, amazing.
And I'm talking to him more and getting more information. It turned out that she was a medium, and she was a Reiki master. And so she knew that it was absolutely appropriate for her to step forward to him. And she knew exactly how to communicate through me. And her presence was so strong, and it gave him such comfort because he was so filled with sorrow at her passing. So that was a really lovely one for me because it was right at the beginning and kind of blew my mind a little bit.
Yeah, that's very nice, yeah.
Another one for me is a friend of mine came for a reading, and she'd been trying for a baby and it hadn't been happening, and she was going down the route of adoption, and she came for a card reading. And I was talking to my spirit guides, and they said to her, your baby is already here. It was so clear, the message, your baby is already here. So I just relayed that to her. And we both assumed that it was a child she was going to adopt. And then 2 weeks later, she found out she was pregnant.
Wow.
And now she's had that baby. So at the time, the baby was actually here in the room with us. We just didn't
know.
realise it.
Amazing. Wow.
So there's been so many, but those two for me particularly stick out.
Oh, they're lovely stories. Thank you very much for sharing those. Yeah, I'm sure you've got hundreds and hundreds, but yeah, they're great, those two. Well, obviously, we've been hearing about your mediumship so far throughout the show. Can you tell us about your guide or guides? Do you have one or a few, and how do they work for you, or does that guide work for you?
So I used to have a team of 5 guides that I knew by name, knew by energy, could talk to, could call in, and I would really, really see them. But one of the things that my guides have been talking to me about is that we all hold on to this expectation with spirit guides that we want to know what they look like, we want to know where they're from, we want to know the lives that they've lived. And actually, the really important stuff that we need, the wisdom, the guidance, the unconditional love, it doesn't need to be given from somebody who's in the shape of a human, if that makes sense. You know, they're in the spirit world, their soul is free. So now when I work with spirit guides, I don't know who I'm working with. I just tune into that energy, and I can still call on my old team, and they do come, but I feel like they're working with other people now, and I have to, it's a bit like, you know, being at school and you go up a year and you really miss your old teacher, but you know that it's time for you to work with new energies. It feels like that to me. So I know there's a team. I know that there's around 8 of them with me, but I don't know the details of who they are. They just come to me as light.
Okay, that's interesting, and I don't think we've had an explanation like that before from any psychics. That's very unique as well. So you work clairvoyantly, so you see images and things like that. Do you have do you work clairaudiently? Do you hear sounds? Do you hear voices and things like that? Clairsentiently? Do you use any of the other clairs in your mediumship at all?
I'm a hodgepodge, Oliver. I use all of them.
Okay.
I think that spirit are very, very intelligent, and one of the things when I'm teaching my students that I always encourage them to do is not pigeonhole themselves into one clair, because you meet people on spiritual journeys who do this all the time. I only see, I only feel, I only hear. And as soon as you're saying that as a manifestation, that's all you're going to get.
Close yourself off, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas if you just learn to surrender and trust in the intelligence of the spirit world, they don't need you to tell them how you want to receive it. They will give it in the best way for you. So with me, it's always a bit of a mixture. Sometimes I feel it, sometimes I hear it, sometimes I just know it, sometimes I see an image that they then talk to me about, and it varies depending on the energy I'm working with and my own energy.
Okay. That's an interesting explanation. Thank you very much for that. Well, that moves us nicely into a break. Now, we're hearing some fantastic stuff from Clairvoyant Medium Hannah Macintyre here on Psychic Social today. And we're very much looking forward to hearing more from Hannah in part 2, where we'll hear all about her time at the world-famous Arthur Findlay College, her fascinating take on the afterlife, and much more. So we'll see you after this. Hi, hope you're enjoying the show today. Now, we have a brand new horoscope email you can subscribe to at psychic.co.uk. All you have to do is wait for the pop-up to show on the website and then enter your email and star sign. And every Sunday night we'll email you a free horoscope for the week ahead. Now, you can dive in one step further if you wish and take a look at our Horoscope Plus memberships. This is your weekly horoscope plus a lot more. There are 3 memberships to choose from, and we've covered all budgets, we feel. So the Robin membership gives you private, exclusive access to a more detailed horoscope on the member horoscope pages at the website, and a chance to win a psychic reading via Zoom each month. And you'll get a free access code as well to the taster version of our amazing video tarot course with Nikki Allen, 10-Hour Tarot. Now, this membership is just £1.99 per month, and you can cancel it anytime you like. There's a ton of stuff in there for such a small amount of money, so much value. The next membership we've got is the Feather membership. It's a step up from there, and it's just £5.99 per month, and you can also cancel anytime for that one too. Now, as a Feather member, you'll get a much more detailed, in-depth horoscope than the Robin membership horoscope. And on that Feather member horoscope page on the website, you'll get exclusive access to that with over 1,000 words of horoscope broken down into 3 sections. That's including romance, work and family. It really will give you a fantastic insight into the week ahead every single week. You'll also get our truly amazing astrology video. That's thrown in for free as well, which is 30 minutes of fantastic content on astrology. And as with the Robin membership, you'll also get a chance to win a psychic reading via Zoom every month too. So that's wonderful value in there as well for $5.99 a month for the Feather membership. And the final membership is the Angel member. That's the top level membership to access on the site. That gives you some amazing stuff, and all that info is on the website. Just head to psychic.co.uk/membership and take a look at which one will suit you. We'll put the link in the show notes of this podcast down below for you, so you can just click there and check them all out there. You can also check out the horoscope page and have a little sneak peek at what the Robin members are getting there already. That's at psychic.co.uk/horoscope. Right, now back to the show. Welcome back to part 2 of Psychic Social and our chat with Clairvoyant Medium Hannah Macintyre. Now, just before the break, we mentioned the Arthur Findlay College where you studied and honed your mediumship. Hannah, can you tell us a bit more about some of your experiences during your time there?
Oh, it's the place. It's just such an incredible space to work with mediums, other mediums. My friend calls it Hogwarts, and I think that's probably the best description for it.
Okay.
It's this beautiful old building that is just filled with the best teachers, the best energy, the best people to work with. And I think there's something very unique about going to a space where you leave your life behind for a week. So for me as a mum, I go there for a week and I focus solely on my mediumship. Someone else prepares my food. You don't have to deal with any of life stuff getting in the way. And so I think it's a really great place to really propel your mediumship forward because it's so intensive. Mm-hmm. It's got the best quality of teachers, and it really attracts wonderful, interesting people from all around the world. So you can really find out so much about other people's journeys and other people's experiences and learn from them as well. It's just magical.
Great. And I understand they kind of do sort of test platform work there. Is that right? In front of test audiences? Is that how it works?
Absolutely. There's nothing like standing up in front of a room of your heroes to demonstrate mediumship. There's nothing quite like that for making the nerves come out. Yeah, you can practice in front of your peers, you can practice in front of other people, and of course the staff there, who are these amazing, accomplished mediums with such great evidence and such great different ways of working. And so, yeah, it's definitely a button presser. It's not for the faint of heart, but it's so worth it.
Great. Well, that's fantastic to hear all about that. Thank you, Hannah. Now, the listeners would love to hear about how you practice your Reiki. We understand you do Reiki, and maybe you could explain to them, for anyone who doesn't know how Reiki works, how does that work? And can you tell us a bit about it, please?
Of course. So I started off as an Uzui Reiki master and then moved into angelic Reiki. And Reiki essentially, in layman's terms, is using the universal energy that's there for everybody, pulling it in and channeling it into somebody else's energy so that you can remove blockages, remove negative energy, break down barriers. I mean, it's holistic, so it works mind, body, spirit, emotions. It heals everything. And it's a really wonderful, just a fantastic energy to work with. So the difference with angelic Reiki is that you have your own personal healing angel who you know by name. Mine's called Gizrael, and they come forward. They are assigned to you in this lifetime for your healing work. And so they blend with you and they bring a wonderful energy. And to me, in honesty, all healing, whether it's Uzui, whether it's spiritual healing, I mean, there's so many different types out there. Essentially, what you're putting into somebody is love. Mm-hmm. You are pouring the love of the spirit world into somebody, and that love and that energy, it has its own, again, intelligence. It knows where it needs to work. It knows what it needs to do, and it can really shift things in people. It's such an amazing thing. Now, I'm very passionate about Reiki, as you may have noticed, mm-hmm. but it's also really important, I think, for your listeners to understand that no healer can wave a magic wand and just take away everything that is wrong with you. And it is sort of like entering into a contract, I think, with your healer, with the spirit world. You know, you need to accept, as the person who is seeking healing, that healing will urge you to make transformations in your life. It will urge you to look after yourself better. It will urge you to deal with the past. But of course, we as humans, we all have free will and choice. And so if you choose not to use that energy the right way, for example, you go home after a Reiki healing session and binge watch the news whilst drinking a bottle of wine, you're going to undo that work. It is miraculous, but it can't change things unless you work with it. So when you go to see a healer, you need to be working hand in hand with that healer to help transform your energy. But the healer can't do it all for you. And spirit can't do it all for you. You have to take some ownership of making some changes in your own life as well. So I'm very passionate about people understanding that, because I think so many people think they can just go to see a Reiki healer and that will fix all their problems. Mm-hmm. But it's a journey, healing. It's a never-ending journey. I mean, I'm 10 years into mine and I'm still working through things for me.
Sure. And I'm sure, well, some people might not know exactly what the process is. So if you could just sort of briefly explain, it's sort of it's raising your hands above the body and not actually touching the body. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep. Different healers work different ways. I'm a non-touch healer. Mm-hmm. Some people like to have that physical contact. Mm-hmm. But essentially what happens is the healer opens themselves up. I mean, there's a great expression that the shamans use, which is hollow bones. Mm-hmm. So you become that bridge for that energy. So the energy comes in through you, in through the top of your head where your crown chakra is, down through your body, down your arms and out of your palms, and sometimes out of your heart center as well, sometimes out of your third eye as well. And that energy just flows in to your client. And like I said, it's got its own intelligence. It's just so amazing. So it knows where it needs to go, because sometimes we have physical ailments that are actually from, an emotional upset from years ago. And so your physical ailment might be in your left knee, but the emotional upset that's causing that pain is actually in your heart. Right. And the energy will know that. It will know where to flow, where to go, how to heal that person the best way for them. It's just amazing. And so as the recipient, for me, you would come here, you would be wrapped up all snugly in a blanket and lie on a couch. There'd be some beautiful music playing, just drift off. And, you know, some people see colours, some people feel things, some people have experiences, and some people just lie there and have a rest. And, you know, I can't tell you exactly how it will feel for you, but I can tell you it's completely transformational.
Lovely. Well, sounds fantastic. Now, some psychics that have been on before have mentioned that obviously they've done Reiki as well. They can sort of send the healing anywhere in the world. Is that something that's possible? Isn't it with Reiki? You can sort of give the healing remotely. Is that right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I mean, I try and get my head around this, and then my brain short circuits, and it's almost like you see a wisp of smoke coming out of my ears. But from Spirit's perspective, time and space doesn't exist.
Yeah,
that's
sure.
a human construct.
Of course,
and so therefore you can heal any timeline, any life, in any place, at any time, with your intention. So it is, I mean, It is amazing. And I remember when I first started, one of my school friends, who I hadn't been in contact with for years, contacted me and asked me to do some healing on her. And she was in London and I was in Kent. And we did it, and it was just so amazing. And she could even tell that when I'm meditating, my head flops to one side, and she could see that. She could see that in London, even though I was here. She knew the position that I was in as I was channeling the healing for her. So absolutely, don't be held back by your limited human perception of what's available to you.
Exactly. We are far more than we think we are, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Yes. Well, that leads us nicely into the next question now, which we wanted to we ask all our guests that come on Psychic Social, is what are your thoughts about the afterlife in your life and through your mediumship experiences so far, and what do you think happens when we eventually leave Earth?
Oh, I love this question. So my thoughts on the afterlife are that we often think, and everyone talks about it, that we go off somewhere. And although I do believe that going off somewhere is available to us, for me, in my experiences with Spirit, they stay around. Not in an intrusive way, but just in the same way that if, God forbid, I passed to the spirit world tomorrow, in that way that I would want to still see my children grow, and I would want to be a part of their life. So I think, you know, spirit are very subtle, and I think there's a reason for that, because I think they're all around us all the time. And we wouldn't want to be able to feel them all the time. It would be too much for our little human monkey minds. So they're around. They are around all the time watching. I think there may be some back and forth, you know. And my understanding is when we move into the spirit world, it's with ease. It's natural. I don't believe that people get stuck here. I don't believe that people are held on earth. I think there's choice. I think they can stay here and watch over people, or move into the spirit, the realm, if that makes sense. And when we go there, we get to look at our lives. We get to look at the decisions we made. We get to look at what we signed up for. Why were we here? What were we supposed to learn? How are we supposed to develop? And have we done that? Have we succeeded? Have we had the experiences and allowed the experiences that we needed to have to grow, for our soul's growth, for helping the other souls around us growth? And so I think we have like a big life review, and then we just float around in absolute light and love and joy and happiness, and it sounds blooming amazing.
It sounds great. That's a great explanation. Thank you. And do you kind of think that we would come back and, you know, maybe to learn some more lessons in another incarnation? And
absolutely, which is part of the reason why it's always funny to me that people want to label spirit guides, because I think that, in honesty, if we accept that we reincarnate and we accept that we need to learn, then you don't get to the level of spirit guide without having lived a few lives here. And we always want to sort of fixate on one look and one fragment of that energy's experiences to make us feel safe as human beings. And it's always a massive motivator, I think, when, you know, as we ascend and we work on ourselves and our journeys and we rise and we change our vibrations, I'm always saying, you know, well, I better learn it this life because I don't want to come back again and have to experience this again. So
Yeah, sure. Yeah, well, excellent explanation. Thank you very much for that, Hannah. We're coming towards the end of the show now, and the last couple of questions we've got for you are going to be moving slightly away from the psychic world. We just wanted to get to know a bit more about you in terms of what you like to read and what you like to watch on TV. So can you tell us what sort of last book you read or box that you watched on Netflix or any other streaming platforms?
Of course, be prepared for a really highbrow answer here. Not.
Go on. Okay.
Well, as I said, I don't like things that lower my vibrations. So I am a big believer in cruddy TV,
right,
because cruddy TV makes you happy. Yep. So I've watched an awful lot of RuPaul's Drag Race, which is my absolute favourite.
Great.
And actually, RuPaul has some interesting spiritual insights there when he's trying to pep everybody up. But I also really, really just enjoyed Schitt's Creek, because it was just such an energy of love in that entire show. Mm-hmm. You could just go to bed at night after watching it and feel happy. Mm-hmm. And I think that for me is very, very important. I try and watch things that bring me joy.
Sure, exactly. And what about sort of books and stuff, and or do you listen to audiobooks or podcasts? Is there anything else that you...
I read a lot of books, but I'm going to be honest here, Oliver. I'm a bit of I love teenage sort of fantasy novels.
Right,
so
okay.
I'm reading Harley Quinn, the Harley Quinn series at the moment, and that's all about witchcraft and magic. But again, it's that kind of not too taxing, not going to, I'm not going to go to sleep at night worried or traumatized or upset. Okay. It's just all a bit fluffy.
Well, that's not like my current listening is. I'm listening to an audio book on an 18 hours worth of neuroscience in my spare time. So
wow,
that's a bit heavy going. Yeah,
that's not for me.
Maybe I need to just chill out and watch You Being Framed or something. I don't know. Okay, it's great. Before we let you go, can you tell the listeners about your website and your social media, etc., and anything you've got currently that you're selling, or any books or courses, anything like that?
Oh, yes, fantastic. So if you look for @Medium Hannah on Facebook, you'll be able to find my Facebook page. And at the moment especially, I'm doing a lot of lives because I'm trying to get the messages and the love of the spirit world out there to counteract this fear energy that we're all in. But you can also visit my website, which is www.readingsandreiki.co.uk. I've got 2 online courses at the moment. One is a 6-week self-healing course, all about teaching you how to unlock your own natural healing potential. And I also have a 10-chapter starting with spirit course for people who want to open up to their gifts with the spirit world and start connecting.
Great stuff. That sounds great. Well, we'll put all the links to that in the show notes on the website. And thank you very much for that, Hannah. Well, it's been wonderful to have you on Psychic Social today. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing all this great stuff and information with the listeners here. I could just say take care and stay safe, and we look forward to speaking with you again very soon. Hannah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I've loved it. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
And you.
See ya. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks for joining us on Psychic Social from psychic.co.uk, the spiritual home of psychics.